Well, hello, dear students. I am Zishan Hashmi, and today I have with me Ms. Devyani. She is a professional psychologist and she is presently associated with the Mental Health Center at Delhi. She has been an IAS aspirant herself, but she works as a full-time psychologist as of now. Today, she is going to shed light on the psychological baggage that IAS aspirants carry during their preparation journey. Also, she is going to give simple yet powerful interventions and solutions that you can carry out on a daily basis at the individual level. So, welcome, Devyani. Uh, I remember while we were speaking on the phone, you were referring to the devil's cocktail that the IAS aspirants keep on consuming on a daily basis without even knowing it. So can you please elaborate on this?
So first of all, thank you so much for welcoming me to this platform. And yes, with reference to our conversation, I'd like to jump straight into it. So the devil's cocktail that IAS aspirants consume on a daily basis is basically three different hormones. So that is cortisol, adrenaline, and noradrenaline. Now, these hormones are normally released by the HPA axis, which is the hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis. So all these three glands work together to counter stressors that we face in our daily lives. So, for example, if I am standing in front of a lion, now this is a stressful situation for me. It's an acute stressor. It requires me to act in some way, right? So, the HPA axis is immediately activated and these hormones are released. As a result of these hormones being released, there are certain changes that happen in my body as my body prepares for either fight or flight. So, if I am standing in front of the lion, either I'm going to fight or I'm going to run away. Those are the responses that are in front of me, right? So now, when these three hormones are released by our body, the physical changes that happen are supposed to prepare us for that fight or flight response, which means that your blood pressure goes up, your heart rate goes up, your breathing becomes faster, your pupils are dilated. Blood flow is directed away from your digestive system because that is not a priority right now. And blood flow is directed towards your limbs instead.
So that you can run away from the lion.
Yes, so that you can take some kind of physical action. So the focus is more on physical action. And and there is also changes in your body's inflammatory responses so that you can counter the stressor. Now, as this response is activated, and once you have dealt with the situation, either you've taken fight or you've taken flight, then your body returns to a state of balance, which we call homeostasis, right? So the HPA axis then is no longer activated. It comes back to its normal position. But when the stressor is chronic, when the stress goes on for a very long time, what happens is that your HPA axis might get dysfunctional. So the cortisol level, the adrenaline level, they might remain elevated for a sustained period of time, which they're not really meant to be. So you are in a state where your body is releasing these hormones on a sustained basis. They remain elevated for longer than they were supposed to be. And that is where the problem lies. So all of these hormones, because of a long-term exposure, they cause all kinds of negative consequences.
Okay, so if I'm disrupting you. If I'm getting it right, so that analogy of standing between a lion, so that's supposed to be a temporary measure. Now, because you are in the civil services preparation, that lion is constantly standing before you, and you are constantly in that fight or flight mode.
Right.
Okay. So yes, please go ahead.
So now the impacts that this has on your body, it could be physical, it could be cognitive, it could be related to your mood, your emotional states. So physical impact could be muscle weakness, high blood pressure, disturbances in your sleep, obesity. I mean, even as a former civil services aspirant, I know that there are a lot of people who come into this preparation and they were not obese before, they were not overweight before, but while the preparation is on, they tend to gain weight. There are disturbances in sleep. And this is something that I think a lot of aspirants can relate to.
Sleep disturbance is very common among IAS aspirants.
Right. Also immune dysfunction. So you start falling sick more frequently because again, the changes in your body that have happened, they were not supposed to happen for this long period of a time. So that is why the immune system also gets dysfunctioned. And then there are, of course, cognitive challenges as well. Like there is hampered creativity, your memory gets impaired, and all of this has a direct impact on your preparation. because civil services is the kind of examination where you require rote learning. There are subjects like polity, history. So with your memory getting impacted because of this, the performance also takes a hit.
Okay,
And
so
it is
facts,
also
when you say history, polity, there are a lot of facts that one need to mug up, right? So if you
right.
have an impaired memory, so definitely you are at a loss if you are constantly under that HPA axis as you have defined technically. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
Then there is also an impact on your creativity. And creativity is something that we might not think that we use in civil services, but we actually do in ethics, in essay, in answer writing, in CSAT. All of these papers require you to be creative. They require creative problem solving. And that gets impacted as well.
True. Okay.
Then there are,
That's quite revealing
sorry.
to know that your creativity gets hampered and you indeed need to have that creative mind in CSAT where you need to visualize things. And similarly, as you mentioned, essay and even to some extent ethics paper. Okay, that's
Yes.
a great revelation. Yes, please go ahead.
So also there are mood disturbances. So your irritability levels go up. Again, this is something that is going to influence your social relationships, your interpersonal relationships, and it can actually become an added stressor for you. If you are more irritable and if you are not getting along with your friends because of that, then that actually adds to your stressful situation. So it can actually turn into some kind of a downward spiral.
Okay, and when you say irritability, loss of patience, again, you had mentioned about many things like there are interpersonal issues that the civil services aspirants face, be it breakups, be it not having good relations with your friends, family, and so on. So yes, it is very relatable to all those students who are watching. Again, but we don't intend to only speak about the problems. Let's also speak about the solution. I remember you speaking about the antidote to the devil's cocktail when you mentioned the angel's cocktail as opposed to or as an antidote to the devil's cocktail, which are nothing but the happy hormones. Please elaborate on this.
Yes, sir. So, Angel's cocktail, happy hormones, these are basically hormones that elevate your mood and they help counter the effects of the devil's cocktail. So, there could be endorphins, dopamine, oxytocin. All of these hormones kind of elevate your mood. And so for example, endorphins is a hormone that is released by the pituitary gland. And so is oxytocin.
Mhm.
Dopamine is something that is released by hypothalamus and in some measure by also the adrenal gland. So all of these hormones work together, and there are ways by which you can increase these hormones in your body. So yes, these are supposed to counter the effects. And there are very good impacts that you can see. So for example, like we saw in Angel's cocktail, that there is hampered creativity. So
Devil's
if you
cocktail.
have Angel's cocktail, sorry, yes, in Devil's Cocktail, there was hampered creativity. Angel's Cocktail, on the other hand, will increase your creativity. It will improve your memory. It will heighten your focus. It increases your motivation. And it helps you achieve a more relaxed state of mind, which again is very desirable because it helps you perform to your optimum level.
Also I remember you telling that it helps you have better bonding, be it with
Yes.
your friends, your family, or again in the context of breakups that you had mentioned. So
Yes,
yes.
sir. Oxytocin in particular is something that is very helpful for better
Mhm.
bonding. So it helps you deal with your interpersonal challenges. It improves your social relationships, which can be a protective factor when you're going through a stressful situation. It can help elevate your stress.
Okay, again that sounds quite revealing to me. Moving ahead, you had also shared this matrix, this table, Devyani, where you had said that devil's cocktail can be cut down and angel's cocktail can be spiked by a few activities if they are done on a daily basis in a continuous manner, in a sustained manner. And you have mentioned 12 different things, 12 different habits, good habits, to cut down that devil's cocktail and spike that angel's cocktail. Please elaborate on this.
Okay, so the first one is fake it till you make it. Now, I think a lot of people might have seen Munna Bhai MBBS,
Yeah.
where that Dean's character is always laughing. He's trying to laugh even though he's angry.
Yeah.
So this is something that is actually based on something we call the facial feedback hypothesis. Now, this hypothesis states that your facial muscles, whatever they're doing, they give a feedback to your brain, and your brain produces that emotional state, the corresponding emotional state. So if I am smiling, my brain will take that signal that yes, this person is now smiling, so that means the mood is happy. So automatically your mood will improve a little bit. So if you are in a state where you're anxious, where you're feeling low, just try to make yourself smile. And there's a very good hack for this actually,
Okay.
because it can be a little difficult when you're angry, when you're upset. It's not that easy to smile actually. It takes a lot of effort on your part to do that. So what you can do is you can carry a little pocket mirror. That's what I do. I carry my pocket mirror, and whenever I'm feeling like I'm angry or I'm in a negative mood state, I take that mirror out, I look at my face, and I can see that I'm angry. I can see that anger on my face. I can see that upset on my face. So then I try to make an effort to smile. And because I can see it, so it becomes easier for me to smile then. And the moment you start smiling, that's when the facial feedback hypothesis actually works.
Okay, just a point here. So that character in that movie indeed had a scientific basis when he used to smile when he was stressed. And what is more important is that all of these practices, you practice these individually on a daily basis or whenever needed. You yourself carry that small mirror, right? So
Yes,
see,
yes.
these are tried and tested techniques, psychological techniques that you are sharing. Yes, yes, please go ahead.
The next one is cognitive restructuring. So this is when you challenge your own thoughts. So for
Okay.
example, if I have not performed well on a mock test, I might start thinking I'm going to fail this exam. I
Okay.
did not do well on the mock test, so that means now I'm doomed. You
Okay.
have to challenge your negative thoughts, because the thing to remember is that a thought is a thought. It is not the gospel truth. It is not a prediction of the future. When you are thinking that I am going to fail, you have to realize that it is only a thought, and you have to challenge it. You have to challenge it in such a way that, okay, yes, I may have underperformed on this one, but that does not mean that I will not be able to improve. That is how you challenge your negative thoughts. And the negative thoughts, they're automatic. So it takes some time, some practice for you to be able to identify them as thoughts, because they're very automatic. So that is the point, that you have to challenge them, you have to restructure them, you have to change their tonality. They might be negative, but you have to try to make them neutral, try to make them positive to whatever extent you can, by questioning the very logic of it. You
Okay.
have to.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, it takes time. It takes time to identify and label those negative thoughts. Only then you can go for cognitive restructuring. And these are some
Yes.
things that we'll be discussing in great detail in the upcoming webinar, where students can also ask their questions, which we'll be answering.
Yes, sir.
Yes, please go ahead.
The next is positive attributional style. So attributional style is basically how you associate reasoning with something. So for example, if something has happened, what kind of a cause do I assign to it? So people have certain attributional styles. There are some people who make global attributions versus some who make specific attributions.
Global
So for
attribution.
example,
Okay.
uh, right. So global attribution would be something like, if I have failed in the civil services examination, I say that I am a failure. That
Okay.
is a global attribution. I'm making a very broad, very macro kind of an attribution, that
Okay.
I have failed and I am a failure, right? So the reason that I failed is because I am a failure, because I am not intelligent. That is a very global thing to say. Intelligence is not measured by one particular exam.
Very true.
So you have to make your attribution specific. You have to think that, okay, I have failed in this exam, but that does not mean that I'm unintelligent. That does not mean that I will not be able to succeed. It has to be very specific, that it has to be limited to that particular event. And you do not have to make broad reasonings out of it. You don't have to make broad generalizations out of it.
Okay.
Then there is the specific,
So if I
then
get
there is
it
the
right,
temporary versus.
if I get it right, positive attributional style. So when you fail at an exam or at a paper, you don't say that I am a failure. Rather, you look at it in a positive manner. You look at it in a more neutral manner, neither positive nor negative. And
Right.
even though that paper might have been a failed attempt, you have more options both in civil services process and in your life in general. So that's what you
Yes,
are implying,
yes.
Devyani.
Yes, absolutely. And there are other features as well. So there are other dimensions as well. Like there's temporary versus stable. So if I
Okay.
have done badly on a mock test, saying that I am never going to improve, that's a stable attribution. I am saying that I will never be able to improve in the future. So that's a very permanent kind of a thing that I'm implying. On the other hand, I can also say that, okay, this was a temporary setback, and I will improve.
Actually, that's very realistic and very relatable. Many students, like I have been mentoring students for a long time now, and students come up with this self-induced assumptions that I've been performing very badly in tests. I have not been able to complete my targets, and I think I'm not made for this process. I won't be able to do it, and so on and so forth. Exactly what you have been mentioning: temporary versus fluid dynamics of positive attributional style. Yes.
Also, so what you just said, that I am not made for this exam, that is an internal attribution, right? So
Yeah.
I am finding the reason for my failure within myself. But sometimes what happens is that there are also external situations at play. Sometimes the fault is not entirely yours, but we tend to look only at ourselves as the cause of something having gone wrong. We
Mhm.
don't look at the situational factors, we don't look at the external factors. So
Mhm.
that is again a negative thing. You should be able to look at both the internal and the external factors. So everything is not entirely your fault. You cannot discount the situation completely.
Again, it is a time-consuming thing and will only come with time and practice.
Yes, yes, of
Yes.
course.
Yes. Go
Then the
ahead.
next one is saying no to avoid being overwhelmed. Now, this is more about assertiveness because we have so many commitments in this exam. There's a lot of preparation, a lot of hard work that is required. It's a time consuming endeavor, of course. So sometimes what we forget is to say no. There are other things that are happening in our life. There are other people who are demanding other things of us, but we should be able to set our priorities. We
Mhm.
should be able to say no to things that we cannot handle right now, because it is very easy to say yes to everything, to say yes to everybody, but then you are the one who's going to end up being overwhelmed. So you have to decide what your priorities are while you are in this preparation, and the things that are not at priority right now, you have to learn to say no to them. So you have to be assertive about your needs and about your limitations as a person.
Yes. So in a way, uh, we might sound selfish to some people, but that is important as well because we are prioritizing our preparation and our mental well-being. Right.
Yes, yes. And this is something that you're doing on a temporary basis. So it's
Ah,
not as if you are being selfish for no reason. There is a very tangible reason behind it. So it makes sense.
okay. Yeah.
Then the next one is Pomodoro technique, which is essentially how you manage tasks. So what happens is when we sit down to study, if we are studying for 6 hours straight, it's not a very efficient way,
Mhm.
because for a lot of people, the average attention span is around 30-35 minutes. So
Mhm.
what we do in Pomodoro technique is we break up our task into small manageable chunks. So you
Mhm.
study for 25 minutes, you have a target set that I will study 10 pages in these 25 minutes, or
Mhm.
whatever your capacity is, you're well aware of that. So
Mhm.
you set that target and then you take a 5-minute break and then you pick up another 25-minute slot.
Mhm.
And this is the sort of thing that you can do depending on your capabilities. You can take 2 slots and then take a 15-minute break, which is a slightly longer break, or
Mhm.
you can go up to 5 slots also and then take a break. That depends on you entirely. I used to do 5 slots and then I
Okay.
would take a 20-25 minute break, which is a somewhat longer break.
Mhm.
So what happens is you're able to stay alert, you don't get bored. And
Mhm.
also those 5 minutes, they allow your brain to consolidate the information that you've just read instead
Mhm.
of layering information on top of more information,
Okay. I find that
right?
quite
So
interesting. Consolidating information rather than layering it.
yes.
Yes.
And it also is very very much linked to dopamine. So we talked about angel's cocktail, and
Mhm.
dopamine is something that we desire. It is a good thing for us. So
Mhm.
what happens is when we achieve a goal, it gives us a dopamine high, because dopamine is essentially linked with pleasure and reward. So when you do something well, when you're able to achieve a goal, it gives you pleasure. It activates the reward center of your brain, so
Mhm.
it actually gives you a dopamine high. So having well-defined goals and following the Pomodoro technique is not just good for your efficiency, but also it elevates your mood.
Mhm. Mhm. Which in turn helps increase your efficiency. It's like
Yes,
one
exactly.
virtuous
It's
cycle.
all linked.
Yes, yes. So the next one you have
The
cited
next
is
one is
30 minutes exercise per day.
yes. So that helps release endorphins and all of these other hormones that are in the angel's cocktail. So yes, that is very important. And then of course you also should be spending 20 minutes in nature, preferably in sunlight, because sunlight again is responsible for releasing these angels cocktail hormones. It helps that. In fact, in cold countries, there is a disorder called seasonal affective disorder. Because there is no sunlight for months, people tend to start suffering from a specific kind of mood disorder. So the low mood is there because there's no sunlight. So I know aspirants who spend their days just in their room, not going out. So that is not a very healthy thing to do. You should be going out in nature for at least 20 minutes, preferably when there's sunlight outside. The greens and the blues of the nature, there's research that backs this, that if you look at plants, if you look at water, the greens and the blues of the nature, it elevates your mood. So that is something that you should be doing. And it's not very time consuming, because since we're talking about exercise and this 20 minutes, so what you can do is you can exercise outside. So that will save you some time.
Again, the
Then
emphasis
there,
on the greens and the blues of nature. That
yes,
that
sir.
that makes perfect sense to me. Yes, we can move ahead, please.
Then there is social support and connectedness. So there is the social buffering hypothesis, which states that whenever we are forming social connections, whenever we have good quality social support with us, it helps protect us from stress. So it is a protective factor, and it helps again release all of these angels cocktail hormones. Oxytocin particularly is influenced by social contact. So when you're sitting with your friends, when you're sharing food with your family, even that can help release oxytocin. So all of these things can help elevate your stress. It can help counter your stress.
Right.
The next thing is cutting down on junk food, because junk food is something that actually gives you a dopamine high. So it is very easy to fall into the trap of stress eating. Whenever we are stressed, we crave comfort foods, which are normally high in refined flour or
Again, quite
refined
commonly
sugar.
experienced. Stress eating is very commonly experienced almost by everyone.
Yes, even by me actually, when I was in my preparation phase. So, so that is there, but this is something that you have to control, because again, junk food is a very temporary solution. It gives you that temporary activation of dopamine, but it is not really any kind of a sustained effect. It will come crashing down very quickly. So you are basically just, putting that junk food in your body for a very short time period of that dopamine high. So it does not make any sense. Instead, you should be following a very balanced diet. It will also help you focus better. It will
I
also
remember,
help you.
I remember you giving that analogy of drug addiction when you were speaking about cutting down junk food.
Yes, yes, yes. So drug addiction is something that happens because of dopamine high again. When we consume drugs, the dopamine centers are activated in our brain, and that gives us pleasure. That is why we get addicted to drugs. So something very similar happens when you consume junk food, not to that level. The level of dopamine high that you get from addictive substances, from drugs, that's very high. But this is still in the same direction. The junk food thing is
Direction is.
also in the same direction.
Good.
Then there are activities which induce flow state engagement. So flow
Yeah,
state is
can
basically
you elaborate a bit more on flow state engagement, because it sounds a very interesting phenomenon, and I'm sure this will help students enhance their productivity. Yeah.
yes, sir. So flow state is essentially, sometimes when you're doing something and you're in the zone, you don't know how much time has passed. You're so focused, you're getting things done. If you're studying, the pages are flying by, you're absorbing everything. That is a state of flow. When your focus is there, when you don't even when you've almost lost yourself in that activity, you're enjoying it so much, and your focus is so heightened. So when you engage yourself in these kind of activities, and this could be anything, they vary for everybody. Somebody might be able to go into that flow state while they're studying. For someone else it might be dance, for someone else it might be music. So whatever it is that helps you get into that flow state where you forget where you are, where you forget how much time has passed, that those kind of activities you should be engaging in. They help counter your stress.
I remember you speaking on the phone that your flow state uh, used to be induced through your dance activities.
Yes, yes, yes. For me, it was dance, and I still, for me, dance is still that flow state engagement activity. Whenever I'm there, I don't even realize how much time has passed, and it really helps me keep myself more balanced.
Perfect sense. So next one you had cited here is journaling, and you have emphasized gratitude journaling.
Yes. So journaling essentially is meant to help you identify your thoughts. We already talked about cognitive restructuring. So
Mhm.
when you journal, you realize what your thoughts are, and only when you know what you're thinking can
Mhm.
you change it. So that is the logic behind journaling, and a gratitude journal is particularly very helpful. It has been shown to increase happiness levels
Mhm.
because in life and in civil services preparation, sometimes we are so overwhelmed by everything that is negative that
Mhm.
we overlook all the little positive things, and it is very natural.
Mhm.
So the gratitude journal is meant to help you track down everything that you're grateful for in
Mhm.
one day. If you've had somebody who helped you out with something, if you were going down the street and there was a dog and you petted the dog and you felt good about it,
Simple,
so
simple
write
thing.
it in your gratitude journal.
Yeah. Yeah. So things as simple as petting a dog, right?
Yes, anything that makes you happy, you should be grateful for it. Why not?
Okay. Sure, sure. And lastly, you have also mentioned mindfulness, meditation,
Mindfulness,
and
meditation,
yoga.
yoga.
Also, I remember one thing when we were speaking on phone about journaling, that we tend to make these assumptions about ourselves or about our lives that we are no more in control and nothing good is happening with us. So when you have that gratitude journal with us, so whenever we are going into that negative state, so we have something tangible to look upon. See,
Yes.
yes, so many good things are also happening with us on a daily basis.
Yes, you can look through that journal, you'll see good things that have been happening to you, and also once you start writing down those good things, you will get in a habit of noticing the small things. Otherwise what happens is we don't even notice those small good things. We
Mhm.
just generalize and say that, oh, nothing good is happening. But
Mhm.
once you've gotten into a habit of writing it down, you will automatically pay more attention to everything that is good in your life.
Mhm. Makes perfect sense. And the last thing that you have mentioned is mindfulness, meditation, and yoga. Yes, Devyani.
Right. So mindfulness is something, meditation, yoga, all of these practices are meant to help you relax. They are meant to help you focus on the present and the now. So the thing is that most of our anxiety, most of our stress, it comes from thinking about the future. Will I pass the exam? What will happen to my career? What
Mhm.
will my friends say if I fail? Everybody is moving forward. Will I be able to move forward? So it's all directed towards the future. Mindfulness, meditation, all of these things help you focus on the present, on the now, because the present and the now is actually not so bad. We are just building up the future in a very negative way. So
Mhm.
the point of it is to not think about the future as much and to be
Right.
present in the here, in the now. It also has a lot of cognitive benefits. I think everybody is aware of this these days, that
Mhm.
meditation, mindfulness, all of
Yeah,
these,
yeah.
they help improve your memory and focus, attention, all of that is there.
So in the upcoming webinar, guys, Devyani is going to discuss not only the HP axis that she has just briefly discussed, but also she is going to elaborately discuss other psychological baggages that IAS aspirants carry on a daily basis, ranging from loneliness, FOMO, and its different various dynamics, then issues of self-esteem, identity, body image, chronic stress, anxiety, burnout, next escalation of commitment, again a technical term, and other things. So everything that students, IS aspirants go through on a daily basis, guys, you are free to join the session. It's an open webinar, a free webinar. You can ask questions directly to Devyani. Devyani will be more than happy to answer all your questions and resolve all your doubts. So the webinar will be conducted through the Telegram group. You can join the Telegram group. The link for joining the Telegram group is given in the description box below. And the webinar will be conducted on Monday, that is on 14th of October at 7 p.m. So see you all guys in the webinar at 7 p.m. on 14th October. And thanks a lot, Devyani.